What's up guys, my name is XANAA and hi, how's it going? And hey, it's my favorite Need for Speed. I love Need for Speed Most Wanted, it's my favorite in the franchise. And what's up guys, my name is XANAA and hi, how's it going? Today I'm gonna be talking about the Need for Speed game that basically took over the entire franchise. So that being said, how did we get here? What is it about this game that makes it so beloved? And most importantly, let's never get confused with this shit. Well, I mean, it's this game. So, Need for Speed Most Wanted, or, well, Most Wanted 05, or mwoz, was a game that Black Box was cooking up for quite some time. It's to be expected when they made Hot Pursuit 2, this project, Most Wanted, was already lying on the back shelf since then. Not surprising since EA grinded their staff to death. However, Underground came first. It was very successful. Then Underground 2 came and they wanted to do police stuff for that game, but ultimately that never happened. So eventually the following year, November 15th, 2005, we got Need for Speed Most Wanted. It came out for 7 different platforms, with a week later the Xbox 360 being released to the public. This also meant Most Wanted was a launch title for the 360, so this means we do have a few console differences here. For one, fuck no, I won't be playing any of the handheld versions, why would you think that? 2, there's minor console differences such as the GameCube and PlayStation 2 versions looking slightly different than the 360 release. And that 3, you can just play the PC version instead and mod everything into the game to your heart's content. The game also got a special collector's version called the Black Edition. It adds a few extra cars along with a few extra events, a few bonus finals, and an extra DVD allowing you to watch interviews and the development process of the game. Then they also made a spin-off, but that's something I'll review for another day. Now we've got that cleared up, there are a few things I want to address before we get started. I have made a video talking about this game before. It had a different structure to Mind than it ultimately became, and this was a few years ago, and I'd like to think I can now form my overall feelings and opinions much better. That being said, let's dive into the action, and let's get into it! Well, we start the game and we have the career mode available, challenge series, quick race, my cars, along with some other options. Let's go into the career mode and discuss the plot. You, the player, arrive as a newbie in the city of Rockport and get involved with the street racing scene that's been taking place. The player gets quickly noticed by an unknown woman in a Mazda RX-8. Who wants to race against the player through the town. You then get stopped by Sergeant Cross for illegally street racing, however, he lets you go due to other duties they must attend to. The player then challenges Ronnie in a sprint race, and after beating him, Ronnie leads the player to Razor, basically the crew leader who mocks the player. And then later the mysterious woman is revealed to be Mia. She appears, sides with the player, and Razor suggests the player to race against Bull before being able to challenge himself. A few days later the player gets challenged by Rog and his group to a friendly race, and after realizing the player's racing skills, Rog starts to root for the player and sends them useful gameplay tutorial and tips. We then get approached by Razor and directly get involved with the blacklist. A list consisting of the top 15 notorious street racers there is in Rockport. The player then challenges Razor, the number 15th on the blacklist, and due to being sabotaged, the player loses the race, thereby losing their M3 GTR to Razor, and gets arrested with no means of escaping due to the police being aware of their race happening. The player is then freed from police custody due to lack of evidence and gets picked up by Mia. She takes you to her safe house and you choose a car. While she takes you to her safe house, she then reveals to the player that Razor and his crew are basically on top of the blacklist now and that it's up to the player to get back into the game. We then pick a car and it's off we go. Yeah, in this one we also get to drive around in the open world like we can in Underground 2. You can drive up to an event, your garage, or start a pursuit. Anyway, you get a few cutscenes and a few intervals here and there, but from here on out, your objective is to challenge everyone on the blacklist and get to number 1. How do we do that? Well, every blacklist requires you to pass a certain amount of events. There's race events and then there's milestone events. The race events usually consist of either a sprint race, your typical A to B event, either a circuit race, which is just a normal race, drag racing returns, and it's not my favorite. There's lap knockout, the person in last each lap gets eliminated, and new to the series is tall booth. You're basically on your own trying to pass a time trial, but you win the event when you pass the checkpoints in time. And then also new to the series is speed trap. I like this one. It's pretty much a sprint race, but there's cameras on the track you want to speed by. The winner is the player with the highest total, but that total decreases the longer a player doesn't reach the finish. I think it's a great event. Then we move on to the milestone events. These are basically the pursuit events, and they're amazing. To start off, as soon as you engage in pursuit, you can challenge all of these milestones. You don't have to go through this menu and knock them out individually, since it can all be done in one pursuit. So you get into pursuit, and then we'll have this wanted meter to the left of the screen. This tells us what pursuit level we're on and how difficult things are gonna get. So level 1 will just be a Crown Vic chasing you, while at level 5 you're gonna get chased by helicopters, Corvette coppers, and there's gonna be a million of them chasing you. It can get really hectic with all of these dudes on top of your dick. Pause. But for real, there's gonna be chaos and it's gonna get really hectic really fast. Thankfully, there will be construction beams or other objects you can smash into in order to get them off of you. Once you evade them, there will be hiding spots you can try to get to in order to decrease your heat level. The higher the heat, the longer it takes. Your cars will always carry an individual bounty depending on how much carnage you've caused with them. So the bigger the bounty, the bigger the fine is if you get caught by the police. To decrease this bounty level, the game encourages you to keep modifying your cars. It's a brilliant system. So, the cop challenges consist of either smashing into cops, escaping them after a certain amount of time, or obtaining a total amount of bounty. You have to escape pursuit within or after a certain amount of time. There's challenges that you need to pass a certain amount of roadblocks. You need to tag or destroy some number of cop cars or reach a set amount of bounty caused by doing property damage. The adrenaline that comes with this, the odd stress sensation that it brings, I really like that. At some point you'll start feeling like the challenges are getting way too difficult, but that makes it even better when you somehow pass every pursuit goal. There is still that risk of getting busted and losing all your progress. It's very addicting, and even if you fail, restarting and trying again actually doesn't feel like a punch in the dick. Unless you get busted by absolute horseshit. I mean, come on, what was that? And if you get busted, you'll either need to pay up or your car will be impounded. If you get 3 strikes, it will be permanently seized. And if you lose all your cars, it's game over. So what I talked about so far is that you need to pass a couple of races and milestone events in order to challenge the rival, but you'll also need to pass a total amount of bounty set on you. This is basically like your total criminal score. You get this from going into pursuits and smashing into cops and passing the events. Anyway, when you pass every objective set by the rival, you get to challenge them in a 1v1. Once you beat them, you take their spot on the blacklist and challenge whoever is the next guy. As a reward, you get to pick 2 markers. The 3 on the right always remain the same, while the 3 on the left are always random. These random markers can range between earning money, getting a free out of jail card, or a pink slip to the rival car. Nothing feels better than stealing the rival car. It's a crime modern Need for Speed hasn't done any innovation with this concept. So yeah, you beat the rival, move up 1 rank, and then challenge whoever the next loser is on the blacklist. Eventually you make it to the top 3 and you challenge Ronnie. Completely wipe the floor with him, and then you challenge Bull and beat him again. And then you challenge Razor for the top spot. They give you quite a bit of challenges in order to beat him, but eventually you do and we get another cutscene. After defeating Razor, we get the BMW back. However, unable to accept his defeat, he hesitates, giving back the keys, forcing Mia to knock over Razor. This alarms his crew, but Mia then reveals herself to be an undercover cop and everyone freezes. She lets the player go, getting all the remaining blacklist members arrested then and there, and this triggers Cross to get angry and send the entire police department after the player. So you need to leave the scene under pursuit level 6, and this means everyone is out to get you and that there is no hiding. The player can't evade the police until Mia eventually calls you and informs you that there is an incomplete bridge the player can jump over to escape. You do just that, and that's the ending of Most Wanted 05. And that's this game's gameplay loop. It's as simple as how I described it, but that being said, let's dive a bit deeper into the game's core mechanics. Now, I briefly mentioned how everything is open world. It's just that I usually go through the menus to start an event, since it's much faster to progress with the game this way. However, when you pass an event, you do get barfed out into the open world again, and you can just drive around. It's fun to just drive around and not really do anything. Also, once more, we do have Nitro, but this time your Nitro regenerates itself over time, so you wouldn't have to pull off stylish moves or whatever. And the game features a new move called the Speed Breaker. You can slow down time for a bit and make things a bit easier for yourself, although I never ended up using it that much throughout the game. But speaking of things that mwoz copies from other Need for Speed games, Exotics and Pursuit return from Hot Pursuit 2 and games prior. I mean, it's in the DNA of Need for Speed, and then the open world and a bit of tuning from Underground 2. This game by far combines the best elements from past Need for Speed games and puts them into one package. In fact, to touch a bit upon the tuning and customization, it's not half bad. It's not Underground 2 levels of tuning, but I don't think that was ever really their intent. I mean, look how gritty this game is. The tuning is still damn fine in this game and does more than enough. That one, yeah, cool. It should also be mentioned, having a tuning shop with every kind of customization available in just one shop is really neat. And also, if you pick up a performance upgrade from a rival, you get taken to a secret section in the customization shop. To touch a little upon the overall physics and general car control, everything feels near amazing. As an arcade racer, it absolutely succeeds and is a really fun game to play. A minor gripe is how slippery it feels at times when turning around. This is just something you gotta get the hang of, but overall the car control feels great. In terms of polish and glitches, there is also not much to complain about. It's a 2005 game, you might get the odd glitch here and there. I sometimes clip into the wall, so that might have just been me getting unlucky. And then the overall presentation and graphics. Yeah, again, it's very 2005, but I still think this is good enough. If you give me a game that looks like this, but it's still very fun and addicting, I'd still take this over something modern that needs to be 4K, taking up 100 gigabytes of storage, or needs to be the size of a massive Dark Souls map. Like, times have changed obviously, but this entire game, it's still good enough for anyone to pick up and start playing, unless you do want something bigger and better. Oh, I didn't see you there. Let's talk about mods for a little bit. So, the modding community especially plays a huge part in mwoz's overall lifespan. If it isn't Hot Pursuit or Underground 2 being modded a shit ton, well then it's this game. So I'm gonna be talking about a few mods, starting off with, well, a widescreen mod. mwoz on PC actually doesn't come with widescreen support similar to all the other console versions. Only the 360 version got widescreen support along with weather changes, and well, just objectively looks the best in terms of graphics compared to the other releases. But with PC modding, there is quite a lot we can do. So here it comes, 3, 2, 1, the Redux mod. It's this insane overhaul of basically the entire game. There's hundreds of cars added, the graphics have been retouched, there's HD reflections, they added customized car handling. There's really not much wrong with only getting this mod and replaying through the whole game again. I mean, you clicked on this video because you probably like this game, so doing an entire playthrough of it again Why not? If we do a bit of engineering and we go to script, we can alter some of the in-game settings. Do you want to alter the screen ratio? Do you want to disable motion blur? Do you want everything unlocked from the start? Do you want to remove the piss yellow filter? Well, yeah, it's really nice to have all these options. It took Nintendo 30 years to add a custom item setting to a Mario Kart game. Why did it take them so long? Anyway, there's thousands of different car mods. There's something called a Pepega Mod, that is basically a meme mod, but very expanded upon. Taking a quick glance at this... Oh no. And then lastly, there is obviously an online mod where you can still play with other people online, which is fantastic. There's literally thousands of other mods out there. This is just a fraction of what the modding community is capable of, and I think that's quite wonderful. Again, be sure to check out all of these mods in the description below and support the creators in any possible way you can. And with that, let's wrap things up. Well, for starters, some of you guys will know I didn't play this game as a kid, and I only started playing this when I got into my early 20s. I played over Need for Speed games at this point, but none of that came out before Carbon was released. What I'm trying to say is that I have no nostalgia towards this game, and that it can carry its own weight very well. You don't have to play any other Need for Speed games to enjoy this one, and I'm trying to make it not sound like I'm sucking this game's cack, but I find it to be objectively a great game. Sure, it has some issues, and I mean, it's not perfect, it's not the newest thing ever, but it's still great. The overall feel of driving is great, and I feel in control. The racing, but especially the pursuit, is fantastic, and is addicting even if you lose and have to start over. And something to mention about the events up till now, what happened to the drift events? I personally don't really miss them, but again, you see AI cars drifting. It's in the DNA of the tuning culture. Did they just not have enough time for it? Anyway, the AI is pretty decent. Sometimes they brake test you, like, why dog? Their spatial awareness isn't always the best, and they rubber band. Admittedly, the rubber banding in this game is quite awful, but I always got around it, and it never really bothered me all that much. And the AI aren't a nightmare to deal with like in Underground 2. Also, speaking of AI opponents, we went back from 6 players to 4. However, on PC you can mod in a total of 7 opponents using the Redux mod. The overall quality and polish of the game is pretty decent. The music is really great. You start up the game and you're greeted by some kick-ass butt rock. And once more, during the menus, you have rap music playing. And then during the races, it's back to rock music. The overall sound quality in the game is really great, and, well, the graphics are outdated, let's be honest here. But the game does go for a grittier approach. I still think it looks good enough, and it's the first Need for Speed that, rather than using CGI or comic book strips, uses actors and puts them in the game by green screen. It wouldn't have made that much of a difference if the story was even further suppressed, but I think they struck a great balance between something that's interesting and something you can give a shit about. And then if you've beaten the base game and run out of stuff to do, there is always the challenge series left to do. In short, there are just a bunch of challenges to pass for fun, and if you beat them all, you get a bonus car. You can only use it in local arcade though, so it isn't really worth it in my opinion, but this is a lot of post-game content that games nowadays don't really feature, and I think that's pretty cool. Well, thoughts, feelings, emotions. It's a good game, I like it. It's a fantastic game, something that everyone should at least try and play at some point. Even if you're not a racing fan, there might be something here for you that you can get a kick out of. Just a few more things. If you want to see me playing this game with a dance mat, that is this video. And yeah, leave a like, subscribe, and peace out!